Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and for those online joining us. Appreciate you taking the time out in your busy schedules. My name is Jason St. Peter. I am a member of the school committee, and I'm also the chair of the Monument Mountain Building Project. Tonight, another community forum. We're really looking for your input. We're going to give you some information, and then we're, again, looking for your input on a decision that the building committee has to make on December 4th. We'll be voting on which of three choices we've worked hard to narrow down going forward as far as a new monument. There's going to be one significant renovation and addition, and then two new building choices. So let's see. I'm joined up here on stage by members of our Skanska, which is our project manager, Danisco Design, who has partnered with William Rawn Associates for our architectural firm. And we already went through past the slide, but also, so again, I'm the chair of the building committee that's composed of community members, students, teachers, administrators, more community members who specialize in different aspects of the trades, a wide range of folks that's prescribed by an entity called the MSBA, which is the Massachusetts School Building Authority, who we partnered with to go forward on this project. So as most of you know, there's broad consensus that we need either a brand new school or a significantly renovated and updated school. This has been known for the last 15 years, since 2010, when the district originally had submitted a proposal to the MSBA to have an addition and renovation. The current school does not meet the educational needs, limits our ability to support high quality learning. It's really the only high school in Berkshire County that's was made in the late 50s, 60s, and early 70s that has not had a significant renovation or replacement. Wacona and Central Berkshire, Taconic and Pittsfield, Mount Greylock in Northern Berkshire have all been completely replaced or had a significant addition and renovation. Our existing school does not reflect who we are. It's an aging facility that has exceeded its useful life, and to continue to invest required to maintain an outdated building with limited educational benefit, it's a bad return on investment. So something needs to be done. We've kind of reached the end of the road with this building, both educationally as well as physically. It's time for us to act one way or another. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Peter Dillon, who's our superintendent. He's going to kind of go more into the educational needs that a new building would help us with. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason, and it's good to see everybody here. I just want to highlight a couple of things. One of the things we're trying to do in this project is really aggressively meet the needs of all learners. We've always had strong academic programs, and we're hoping to update our science labs, our technology, and AP appropriate spaces. We have 3 official Chapter 74 career technical opportunities. Those are in automotive, horticulture, and early childhood. We're in discussion with the state about a potential 4th one, and that could be carpentry, plumbing, or an electric program. And we'll share some updates on that in the coming weeks. In addition to our fully approved Chapter 74 programs, we have a variety of innovative pathways. That's a different standard, but it lets us work with local businesses. And we have one in business, one in health and human services, and one in advanced manufacturing. We continue our commitment to the arts, including music and drama. We're trying to do more with physical education and wellness. And we're continuing to build out programs to meet the specialized needs of all students. A thing I want to address a little bit is there's this sort of notion in social media that we've had issues with deferred maintenance, and it's just not accurate. Our maintenance group has invested a lot of time, money, and effort into maintaining the building. The fascia in the front on the roof doesn't look great. and there's a whole long story behind that. But in recent years, I'm not going to go through this whole list, we've done a lot around safety and security. We don't talk a lot about it because to talk about it would undermine what we're trying to do there. We've improved our labs and classrooms. We've enlarged our medical suite. That was in part a response to COVID. And you might notice there's a new greenhouse barn being built, and you can see the structure out there. So many examples of that. Unfortunately, the building has passed its useful life. It's almost 60 years old, and it's not meeting the educational needs that we have today. What I'm going to do is hand it over to Donna, who's going to go through a number of slides, and then we're going to conclude with an interactive part where we're actually going to poll you in real time. So this is one of the few times I'm going to say in a school setting, if you have your phone, get ready to take it out. And then we're just going to open it wide up for questions. Okay, Donna.
I'm too short, so I might just hold this. But good evening, everyone, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I think it was in the spring we were here the last time, so we have a lot of exciting updates and milestones. But first, we also want to introduce and thank our partner, the Mass School Building Authority. They are providing funding, a significant amount of funding for the project. The MSBA is actually a quasi-state agency that derives their revenue through 1 cent of every 6.25% of your tax dollars. So it's a great opportunity for you to actually get something back from the state for once, right? The process with the MSBA is extremely competitive. They have seen an increasing schools looking to participate in their program. Monument Mountain actually got re-invited back in 2021, and it was only one of 17 schools that was invited in out of 58 statement of interests or applications. MSBA doesn't select a school or a district because of an aging facility, and you must also have an educational need to be in their program. And Monument Mountain has done that not once, but twice. So the state is excited to partner with you on the journey that we're embarking on. As part of the process, MSBA has a very prescribed process that we must go through. It's great. It takes a little bit longer, but it ensures that we are making sure that this is a cost-effective or an affordable as well as an educationally sound solution. So we are in the feasibility study. Braden, thank you. And at the very beginning, and we have a lot to share, so I'll go quickly with some of these, but we started back in February and we asked what the project goals were. We are currently wrapping up study, and our goals are always in front of us, making sure that any decision we make is staying true to the project goals. We also want to say that we're really excited about the opportunity to have a green or sustainable school. We have gone through several iterations, and we're confident that we can actually deliver a new school that will be off fossil fuel. It will be an all-electric building, so it will reduce your energy, it will reduce carbon emissions, and it will really provide a healthy indoor environment. And we will be providing daylighting and views, which we know really improves the learning for all students. So as part of the process, part of the study process, we are required by the MSBA to look at 3 options, right? The first one is a benchmark. What would it cost just to bring your existing building up to code? You would have no educational benefits, but they just want to know what is your initial or investment that you would need to maintain the building. The second option they want us to look at is what a renovation addition would look like and cost, and how would we do that. And then thirdly, they want us to look at a new school option. As part of the process, the first thing is the educational program, though. And we have worked diligently. I think we were here in the spring, and the gross square footage was slightly more than what we're presenting here. We have gotten very creative in making sure that we're utilizing the spaces the best that we possibly can to deliver the program, not compromising the program, but in the most efficient layouts possible. So right now, we're targeting 140,000 square feet for your new school. And just as a reference point, your existing school is about 114,000 square feet. So when we think about code repair, that was the first option MSBA is asking us to consider, or at least obtain costs with it, right? It will address the building repairs that are required, but it will not address your educational deficiencies, security challenges, your indoor environmental quality. You still have interior classrooms with no windows, and just an overall, it doesn't meet your educational program. So where we are is we had a series of locations for a new school, series of options for a renovation addition. We've met with staff, we received a lot of input, and we're really excited that we have 3 remaining options that the building committee will be making a decision on December 4th. Which one of these options will best meet the needs of the students, the staff, as well as the community. So we're looking at one which is a renovation addition, and then 2 new school options. And we're going to get into those quickly. And because we have so much to cover, we're going to try to go quickly, but we can always go back, share some additional graphics, or answer any questions.
Okay, use my clicker at the table. Thank you. So since we've last met at our last community forum, we've continued to develop kind of the 3D massing of each of these remaining alternatives. And we've also studied a little bit of how construction would affect the continuously occupied school with each of the 3 projects. So here you can see the site plan for alternative 2C, which is the addition renovation concept. You can see the existing building located in the middle of the site, with the 1-story addition located in that hatched area kind of below it. The existing parking lot, and then all of the elements around the periphery of the site basically remain as is in this project. The main intervention is a perimeter road around the renovated building, and what that allows us to do is to separate car and bus traffic and create 2 distinct separate traffic loops, one clockwise through the site, one counterclockwise through the site. It also allows for some flexibility in locating parking to support the early childhood program, the CTE spaces, etc. This is an aerial view, almost as if you were looking down from Monument Mountain back at the site. Here you can see the existing building along with the 1-story addition located in that west parking lot. The existing parking and the main driveway up to the school generally remain as is. This is a view if you were to drive up the existing driveway and arrive at the top of the school, or at the top of the plateau, you would see the new addition right on the corner. Inside of the new addition, we would locate the new administration area, which would give them a good vantage point over anyone approaching the school, either on foot or in a vehicle. You can see where those buses are lined up. We have the opportunity for a new drop-off area immediately adjacent to the addition. This is another aerial view taken from almost if you were hovering over the agriculture and horticulture buildings, looking back down at the school. You can see that perimeter roadway really coming around there, and the new drop-off out in front near the addition. This is a floor plan view of the addition renovation concept. This hasn't changed much since our last meeting early in October. but you can see the new addition down here towards the bottom of your page with a new administration area, new kitchen, new cafeteria, some new science spaces, and then you can see the balance of the academic spaces distributed throughout the plan of the building. The existing gymnasium, existing auditorium would remain in their current locations but renovated. You can also see in turquoise the CTE spaces distributed throughout the plan of the building. This graphic shows the complexity of an addition renovation in a building that's continuously occupied. And basically the takeaway from this is we've identified up to 8 phases, and the work has to be done in small chunks to accommodate the continuous operation of the school, which we anticipate being at least 48 months. So highly disruptive. So on the outside of the building, the phasing would operate in a similar way. This would show phase 1. During phase 1, the contractor would build the new addition to the school, and the laydown area would be in the front of the building here and likely a large portion of the hill. If a geothermal system is incorporated into the scope of the project, they would likely install this at the same time. You'll see all school traffic consolidated for the duration of this phase. Once the new addition is built, then the contractor would work in phases around the building to complete the remaining work. And once that perimeter roadway is done, this is the permanent and final traffic pattern, the same as the first slide. So we have also 2 new construction options. This is 3E, which is a 3-story scheme built into the hill to the west of the building. Here you see the new building footprint located here, and then the existing parking lot located to the left of your screen there. And the main circulation for this option is 2 distinct traffic loops located to the east of the building, where you can see one for cars, one for buses, and then a service area down towards the south of the building. There'll also be an outdoor area along this side of the building facing Route 7. That same vantage point from basically on top of Monument Mountain looking back towards the school. Here you see the 3-story building with that outdoor area, the parking beyond, and then we'd create a new green space in the footprint of the demolished school building. This is a view if you were driving from Stockbridge down Route 7 towards Great Barrington, looking up at the driveway of the proposed 3E option. And then if you were to drive up the school driveway and look back towards the main entrance, this is now looking west. This is a potential view of the main entrance adjacent to one of those vehicular circulation loops. And again, that same vantage point of a different aerial view of the building. Here you can see the service area, and then you're looking back towards the north. This is an overview of the floor plans of this building. This 3-story scheme on the main floor where you would enter from the east would include most of the public spaces, including the gymnasium, auditorium, administration area. And then the lower level would include spaces like the cafeteria and any other programmatic space that could benefit from being adjacent to that outdoor area, science classrooms, art classrooms, et cetera. The balance of the academic space is located on a 3rd floor of the building. For the construction phasing for 3E, it would be similar to the addition renovation where the contractor would take that west parking lot and a large portion of the hill in front of the building and build this new scheme. After the new building is complete, the contractor over a summer would upgrade and replace the existing parking lot and start demolition of the existing building. And then once school opens, the balance of the existing building would be demolished, and parking and circulation would be available for school use. And there again is the finished picture.
Everyone, this is alternative 3H. This is a 2-story new, thank you, 2-story new school building built where the existing parking lot is today. This is a site plan showing the circulation, and this scheme, the buses will loop around the school with drop-off right by, sorry, the main entry where you can see with these two arrows here. Vehicular access and parking is atop the hill where the existing school building is today. And there's also drop-off right near the front entry. An aerial view again from the top of Monument Mountain. Looking down, you can see the hillside remains, and the two-story portion of this building faces the tennis courts. The single story is along the main entry facing the parking. You can see the greenhouse down here at the end of the building. This is the view from Route 7. It's about a 2.5 story facade from that view. And this is along the facade that faces Route 7. The existing land will slope from the main entry down to the other end of the building along the tennis courts. You can see the entrance there. Cafeteria is just to the left with views of Monument Mountain. This is another aerial view looking at parking. And you can see the gym and the auditorium are in the middle of the building. That entrance is on the lower left. There's another entrance, and the gym face, the auxiliary gym face the track and field. As I said, it's a two-story school. Where you enter, you enter right into the cafeteria, so that doubles. It's a great community space, doubles as the lobby for the auditorium. The gym, auxiliary gym are immediately off of that parking lot. Academic spaces are on 2 floors facing the tennis courts. In terms of phasing, one of the keys here is construction of a temporary parking lot right on the field adjacent to Route 7, which provides a large construction site on the existing parking lot with easy access for construction vehicles off of Route 7. There's geothermal associated with this project. It's proposed where the softball field is today. And you can see that student pedestrian access to the existing school would be up the hillside. Bus drop-off would be similar to what it is today. And then as the building opens, then the existing school building comes down. So landscape work and parking can be constructed. Temporary parking would remain down at the base of the hill. And then you would end up with the final condition here with the building open and the fields are open.
So we know cost is on everyone's mind. This is what we call study, a preferred schematic report. These are not the final numbers. We just want to provide an update of where we were. I think it was when we submitted the preliminary design program to the MSBA. What you'll see is we're going to give you, for each option, some cost comparisons for each of the options that we're looking at. So for alternative 2C, which is the addition renovation, again, MSBA was asking us to use this alternative 1 or option 1, what it would cost for a code repair upgrade only. And using that as a base as we think about what the opportunities are for any solution that improves the education within the building. So I'm going to spend some time on this slide, and then when we go to the next few slides, hopefully it will make a little more sense. We have an opportunity, as you can see. The alternative 1 is gas boilers and a simple distribution system. We have an opportunity to actually remove fossil fuel from the renovated or new school, whether it's using an air source system such as VRF or ground source heat pumps, which you're familiar with is what you've used over at the middle school. Today's version of the ground source heat pumps is greatly improved. It's a closed loop system and far more efficient. You won't be encountering a lot of the issues that you are at the middle school, but it's still a success the way it's designed at the middle school. So what you'll see is we have alternative 1, which is gas boilers, repair only. But if we go with a renovation addition, you can see whether it's with a air source or ground source system, there's actually a reduction in cost for the overall project. With the addition renovation, there's really only one path for constructing the project, and that's with a construction manager. A construction manager you bring on during design. They will work with us to make sure that the phasing is well thought out, that we think about coordination. How do we keep certain systems up and running with an existing school while having to add new systems as we go forward? And there's a lot of complicated moving parts, as Jeff articulated. So we would be utilizing a construction manager at risk, also known as 149A, with a renovation addition option. The total construction cost, you'll see, is the very first row. This includes the construction of the project, of the school. It would be complete abatement of the existing building, right? It has to be completely abated. And it includes all of the site work. So everything that we've shown you is included in this construction number. The soft costs are what we consider design fees, OPM fees, technology, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, significant for a project like this with all of your career tech programs, your science programs. It also includes the contingencies, the construction contingency, the owner's contingency. So that is what makes up the soft costs. So what you'll see here, third line down, is your project costs. So you'll see that at the very, front of this, it appears that going with a full renovation addition compared to a repair-only option is significantly more. That's where MSBA comes into play. MSBA will not support or reimburse us for a repair only. It does not address the educational needs and programs, but they will participate significantly with any renovation, addition, or new construction. So you'll see that for a renovation addition, I round, these numbers are kind of hard. So $59 million MSBA is willing to contribute to a renovation and addition. In addition, when I started telling you about the great opportunities to go with for a sustainable school or go to an all-electric building, the local utilities also have incentives for us. And they're actually giving money to communities that have public projects that are actually going to either use ground source heat pumps or air source heat pumps. And so right now, we're estimating for a VRF system, it's approximately $435 million, but everyone is really pushing ground source heat pumps. They're the most energy efficient, they're the most stable, they last the longest, they have they're the most costly, right? So the Mass Save or our local utilities are saying, we would give you $1.5, $1.6 million towards the cost of the ground source heat pump system or solution. And then you'll see what the total local share is, right? So $114 million just to update the building, $98 million for a VRF system, or $109 million. There's an opportunity for additional incentives. One is the Inflation Reduction Act. If we go with the ground source heat pump system, that is not a guarantee. You get the money when you actually complete the project and then submit it. So because it's not a guarantee, we're not entering a contract. This is through the federal government. We don't want to count on it. We don't want to assume we're going to receive that money. But it would be great if we can get the additional funds. And right now they're available, and the program actually sunsets in 2032. So we would be able, we hope we would be able to take advantage of it. So I won't go through in detail, but I'll kind of go through the same thing. The difference between new construction and a renovation addition is that we have an opportunity to utilize a different construction delivery method. That's called general contractor or design bid build. It's not as complicated of a construction as it relates to or compared to an addition renovation. We're confident that we can do it in a safe and effective manner without using a construction manager. That's still to be weighed and considered by the building committee. So we're showing all costs here, but there's an opportunity for some additional savings if the building committee believes that that is a safe and prudent way to approach the project. So your construction costs, you know, again, comparing it to the alternative one, compared to the various options, whether it's a VRF or air source system and ground source system. And then you start seeing the savings that could be achieved by going with a design bid build or general contractor procurement method, right? The soft costs are a percentage of your construction costs. A lot of that has to do with your contingencies. So your total project cost is the third row. Mass School Building Authority is also going to commit over $53 million. And the Mass Save or our local utilities are also equally matching as they did if it was a renovation addition. So the local share ranges from $89 million to, help me out here, $110 million for option 3E. 3H, again, very similar, slight nuances in the complexity of the site, but again, we're confident that this can also be achieved in rounding numbers. You know, it ranges from 91 million to approximately 112 million. We don't have what the local individual taxpayers, what that impact is for the individuals just yet, but we are working on that. We are not seeking any kind of support tonight. We want your support, but we have another 6-7 months before we fine-tune the numbers to have an actual cost and what that impact is to the individual taxpayer. So again, as you'll see here, this is taking a look at the construction comparisons utilizing an air source or VRF system. There's a lot of ranges. We do not need to make a decision today which construction delivery method we're going to go with, nor do we have to decide if we're going with an air source or VRF system or ground source. What we need to do on December 4th is really decide which alternative do we want to move forward with, and then we have a few months to make sure that we decide on all of these other factors. If the project does not move forward, we'll be seeking a local vote in the fall of 2025. The school itself, the physical building, has pretty much exceeded or has reached its useful life. You need to continue to maintain and you need to continue to invest in it. We have spent a lot of time, our consultants and engineers have gone through the building, have worked with the operations department to identify significant items that will need to be addressed over the course of the next 10 years. When you look at the individual costs ranging from your mechanical systems, your roof is relatively new, but it's going to need to be replaced within the next 10 years. Everything from your plumbing to communications and security. The total amount is approximately $60 million. We're forecasting this $2027, but you'll see that there's still an investment that you need to make into this building for it to operate as a school. As a result of the Mass Building Code, if you do over a course of 5-year period, let's just say you decide to do the roof or the HVAC system or a combination thereof, the code states that if you exceed 30% of the assessed value of a building, we now have to bring it up to full compliance for accessibility. It's code. So that's an additional expense that should be taken into consideration. And then code also states you're grandfathered in, you don't need a sprinkler system now. The building wasn't designed with one, it wasn't a requirement back then. But if you exceed 33% of the assessed value of the building, you do have to include sprinklers. So that's an added approximate $5 million. So you'll see, you know, as you have to address all of these aging systems and roofs and other aspects of the building, the numbers does start to go up, and then it triggers other requirements, and you're pretty much looking at, you know, $70 million for construction. The challenge is, how do you get it done? We have no swing space for the students, and there's no place for them to go, so we would have to figure out how to achieve this work while the students were in the school. Do you want to wrap this up? Sure.
So thank you very much for staying tuned, and thank you everyone for the presentation. As you can see, you know, we're between a rock and a hard place. We've come to the end of this building, unfortunately, both physically and educationally, and so some hard choices are going to have to be made. And so again, we're at the beginning of this, well, we're probably in the middle of the process. The vote, again, is going to be October 2025, but the next big vote that the building committee has is to choose one of these 3 options, the renovation addition or one of the 2 new buildings. So again, December 4th, we're going to make that choice, but we're looking for here and between now and then is really the community's input. They're all relatively similar cost-wise. We were kind of secretly hoping one of them would be significantly different or lower. So, I mean, because I mean, obviously cost is a huge driver, but, you know, since they're all pretty similar, they all have other benefits, pluses and minuses to them. So we're really looking to reach out to you to get your opinion on what's important to you, which aspects, you know, come in at a higher ranking versus others, and really seeking your input. So again, you know, the benefits of a new building, as you see, it's pretty relevant that the cost of doing nothing is going to be similar, if not more, because of the variations when you get into trying to renovate a building with students in here over the next 5 to 10 years. So the community benefits of a new school or a significant addition and repair. Enhanced access for the community. This is something that, you know, at a minimum 50, but I'm expecting closer to 75 years for a new building. You know, the auditorium, the gym, the cafeteria, safe and easy community access, improved public-facing career, tech, vocational, early childhood, automotive, you know, sustainable elements, energy use, less carbon emissions, embodied carbon, healthy indoor environment, a safer campus. We haven't touched on it tonight, but after we figure out which of these 3 solutions we're going to go forward with, we will hammer out more of what exactly kind of power, as far as a ground source heat pump or air, and also traffic improvements. Again, there were a lot going through this now, but we're not going to, our goal is to not keep the status quo as far as the entrance and exit to the building, whether that's building a secondary road parallel to Route 7, whether there's roundabouts. You know, that's something that the committee will address, just not at this time. After we make the decision on which of these 3 options, we'll be looking for that in the next few months. But the biggest thing is, again, for the next 50 to 75 years, what do we want to provide the thousands of students from the 3 towns with? You know, what kind of school, you know, what kind of value do we place on it? You know, this is an important decision, but I think it's critical. I mean, do we want a school that represents who we are? You know, I think we do. So again, it's really important that we pick one of these three solutions and rally behind it, and give the future students, the thousands or so, a school that they can be proud of and we can be proud of. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Don. Thanks.
Thank you. And just to kind of tie everything together and really understand the benefits to the community and what your return on investment is. And we understand it's a significant investment, but it's an investment that will last 75 years and thousands of students that will be going through the school. But it goes beyond that, right? You provide these amazing career tech programs to these students. We're talking about actually a potential increase in one of them. The students will stay in your community. They'll service your homes. They'll be part of the fabric of your community. They'll go out to dinner. They'll go shopping in the local stores. So it will be wonderful. They'll reinvigorate, right? Now you're going to have the students stay and grow and raise their families in your community. So we feel that that is really an important component as we think about what does it mean for the community. So we're really excited about that. So now what we'd like you to do, and if you have any problems, I think we have about 40, 50 people online as well. But as Dr. Dillon said, you're allowed to get out your phone only once. Make sure that you have Wi-Fi. We'd love for you to help us take a poll. We have 3 really important questions. We're not asking you to pick which option, but we're asking you what is most important to you in 3 different areas. So if you could take out your phones, and those at home could also do the same thing. You can take your camera on your phone and scan the QR code there, or you could go to the internet and go to menti.com, and then you'll enter the code that's on the screen. And once you're there, just there's a thumbs up, and this will tell us how many people are connected. Look at them go. Keep going, keep going. And if anyone's having any problems, please, online, just enter help in the chat, and we can certainly answer that. If anyone in the audience is having any problems, just raise your hand. Give it a few more, 36, 30. Oh, good, good. Yeah, so what you can see is it does say wait for presenter, we'll advance it, but I just want to make sure we have 40 people are on. Okay, we'll give it a oh. I'm going to advance the slide. That people can catch up with us. Okay, so what we're asking on the first one is to rank the educational opportunities, 1 being highest, and 8 being the lowest. So you will be able to move. There's a box at the very top, and then these items will be at below. You take those items and you drag them into the box that says rank your priority here. And then once they're in, you can actually reorder them as what's most important to you. So sometimes it's easier just to put all of the 8 items into the box, and then you can shift and rank which is most important to you. Once you do that, just hit submit, and you'll see that this is, it looks like going to the races and who's gonna finish. There we go. I'm not even gonna start commenting yet. I'll wait for. And if you have any questions, it is new technology, except I see, I don't know if there are kids in the audience that could help us with this, but in the chat or raise your hand if you have any questions. And take your time. It isn't a race, really. I was kind of joking that it was like a race. and I see a lot of people liking it. That's great. Just make sure that you hit the submit or save. Is it submit or save? Submit. Just make sure you hit the submit button at the bottom. It's okay to like it. But make sure you hit submit so it will record your preferences. We have 30. We'll give it a couple of minutes. As we're waiting, any of the three options really meet your educational needs. There are slight nuances to each of them. Some of these priorities that we're asking you to rank might help inform the building committee's decision on which one might be most appropriate. All three of them are great. As we mentioned, the costs are almost the same. So it's really a matter of other priorities within the community that are really going to help determine what the preferred solution is. Is that how many we have? 43? Awesome. So I think I'm going to go to the next one. And we'll capture this, and this presentation will be available for everyone afterwards. And I believe that it's also being recorded. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Take your time. We have 47 participants. Some of them are probably sitting up here, but. It's great to see that people are supporting the investment of your career tech programs. And we're excited about the opportunity to hopefully introduce a fourth one. Science labs are desperately needed. Don't quite teach science the way we used to. Lighting, views, school climate really is tied to sustainability, and then the opportunity for these students is just awesome for them to be a part of that conversation. Are you all set? Awesome. All right. So now what we'd like you to do is rank the overall project considerations to help guide the building committee on which preferred solution. So it should advance to the next slide or the next question, the next ranking, and you'll just do the same. While people are still doing it, it's really interesting to see how it shifts ever so slightly depending on the individual inputs, which is great. I'm seeing optimized solar or photovoltaic at the bottom, which is fine. We want to say that with any solution, we will consider or explore the opportunities for putting solar on the roof and perhaps canopies in the parking lot. The building at minimum is required to be designed, so all the infrastructure, including the support on the roof, will be able to support PVs or solar when you come back and install it. It could be through a power purchase agreement. It could be through the community themselves. There are some great grants out there right now. But again, that's something that we don't need an answer to today. It's something that we can work on in the spring and then even beyond that. Give it a couple more minutes. I think we're up to 50 on the last one. Maybe I'll poll the physical audience. Everyone good? Need more time? Good. Getting a thumbs up. All right, we have one more that we love for your input on, and then we'll jump to your Q&A. So this would be just rank the preferred solution considerations, again, to help guide or provide information or input to the building committee when they have to make their decision on December 4th. This one's a lot to unpack. Making sure that it fits in with the Berkshires and within the surroundings of the existing Monument Mountain site. Thank you. I don't think we can design anything as beautiful as the backdrop that this has, but it really, such a special place here. Should have brought some background music. Don't want me to sing, for sure. think we have a few more. I think we've hit 50 on the other one, so we'll wait a couple of more seconds. So what we're seeing, and I know we have a couple of more people, I don't know if that will, oh, maybe it might impact it. What we're seeing is allows for an efficient program layout. School disruption ranks second. No, see, never mind. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to wait. One vote, one person's input makes all the difference. I think we're at 50. But it is very interesting as you can start seeing the importance of all the different considerations. Optimizing outdoor spaces almost tied with construction duration impacts, school disruption impacts. It's significant when we start thinking about the renovation and addition option, right? So this is really great, and what we like to do, Braden, I think I need your help. There you go. So we've been saying December 4th over and over. So feel free to come to the building committee meeting on December 4th. It's hybrid. So if you want to come, it's at the district offices in the community room, or join us online for the full deliberations. We are submitting the preferred schematic report, or the study, which indicates what your preferred solution is, to the MSBA on December 19th. From there, we're going to jump right into schematic design and really hammer out a lot of these conversations that we were saying we don't have an answer yet. We're still working on this, to refine the design to a point where we can obtain a much better cost estimate or cost of the project. And that will culminate in June of 2025. It's hard to believe it's like around the corner. And then we'll be submitting it, the final solution with the final cost to MSBA in June. MSBA will vote to approve it in August, and then we'll be bringing it to the voters in the fall. But now what we love to do, and we really appreciate everyone coming out virtually or in person, to please ask any questions, provide any input. We have a microphone in the back, if you can make your way to the microphone, or Braden, I don't know how long the cord is, if we could run it, it's okay, all right. And then for everyone that's online, if you want to just pose your questions in the chat, and I think Jeff's got it, Jeff, okay. And then we'll read the chat. Hi. I think you're it, standing in front of the
I
microphone.
have a question.
Yes.
It may have been addressed already. I'm new to this meeting.
That's okay. Can anyone else hear him? Is that camera on? The microphone on?
Do I need to turn a switch? I am right in front of it. Sure, my name is Doug Robbins, in Great Barrington. There are a number of pretty significant numbers that have been addressed here, 69 million here, 114 million there. Where can we as residents go to get a more defined breakdown of how these numbers were arrived at? And I have a second question as well. You've defined that the school no longer needs, and this is not meant as a criticism, it's a question, that it doesn't address the needs of the community based upon growth and expectation. Where do we have the numbers and the projections of making those assessments?
So the costs, all the numbers behind the construction cost and the soft costs and how we arrive at that, those should be on the website if they haven't already. Should be posted to the website. Have you gone? It's Monument. Where is it? It's monumentbuildingproject.org, and all of the documents that we've done to date should be up there. Everything from the existing conditions to the cost
The documents
estimates.
that we're looking at here aggregate the costs in rather big line items. 30 million here for soft costs and 20 million here for air conditioning and so forth. What I'm curious about is a more detailed assessment of how those numbers were arrived at.
Yeah, we have,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, we had two independent professional cost estimators take our basis of design and all of the site information we provided, as well as the building layouts. And they had some, I think they're both like 40 pages worth of detailed documentation, line item by line item. I think that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we, as residents, have any questions, where can we address those rather than pestering everybody in a meeting like this? Where could we get specific answers if we have questions to any of those line items?
Yeah, I think on the Braden, and maybe I'm looking at you, you can connect with us. I think you can post a question on the website. If you would like just to email Dr. Dillon, yep. Dr. Dillon's volunteering if you don't have his information,
problem.
but
I'm sure
that
I
would
can
be
find it.
great. So you could either post your questions or comments through the website, or Dr. Dillon will feed us your questions and we'll be sure we get back to you.
If you go to the monumentmountainbuildingproject.org, there's a link that just says connect with us, and it is a form. So you just type in your name and your email and your comment, and I'll direct your question to the person who can answer it best.
Perfect. And the
Okay.
second question, where you made your assessment on needs, where would that information be available? That also be in that site?
Yeah, it's on the site, and I'm happy to talk to you about it, because I don't want to send you on like a wild goose chase through
All right.
thousands of pages of documents.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
So it would be both educationally as well as the building needs. Do you have anyone online yet? Yeah. Oh, good. We got a few. Jeff just. So I don't think we can hear them. So if Rachel, you can hear us. If you could put your question in the chat, that would be great.
Oh,
Hi, just state your name, please.
Stacy Schultz from Otis. I'm an eternal optimist, so I'm wondering which of these options could give us the best way to grow if we need to grow.
Thank you. So if you're saying if you now need more space to accommodate more students
Students or programs.
or programs. Either the addition renovation, or I'm sorry, either 3E or 3H gives us a little bit of flexibility on growing the building. We will evaluate, exactly how that will work. It's part of the requirement as we submit this to the Mass School Building Authority, where any expansion could occur. Programmatically, what we're doing, for example, we're really hopeful that we're going to have a fourth Chapter 74 program. So taking the wood shop, the wood program right now as it currently exists, we're actually sizing it so that it will meet the needs of a actual carpentry program or electricity program. So we're starting to think about that because programs do evolve over time. And we feel that a very simple design with lots of flexibility is going to be the key to address program needs in the future. Thank you.
Lee Davis, Great Barrington. First of all, thank you so much. I know there's been so much hard work put into this whole project. So I kudos to everyone involved and to the committee sitting here in front of us. My focus is on the green energy and green schools, and I would be advocating for the ground source, the heat pump that you're talking about, and I would like more information on the energy efficiency, how much we would be saving over the years, because it is more expensive on the outset, but when you factor in the cost that we'll be saving over the years, having green energy. I would like to see that wrapped up into the presentation to say, yes, it might be more expensive from the outset. And I'm appreciative of you raising the Mass Save incentives and the infrastructure possibility for the grants. But I would be keen to hear more about the energy efficiency over the time and how much we'd be saving.
Thank you. And yes, we actually had a life cycle cost analysis done that took into consideration, I think there were like 8 different options for energy delivery, whether it was air source, gas, whether it was a VRF system or a ground source. And then we did a whole bunch of different comparisons of all of the different options, right? First cost, but more importantly, greenhouse emissions, lower carbon. So we have a life cycle cost analysis that should also be put on the website, and that will give you all the information. We also had a sustainability meeting just this past week, so thank you to that team for weighing in and providing your input. And that kind of distills it, and that too should be on the website as well. And that will tell you what your costs are, your first initial cost, but over this lifespan of the, I think we went up to 20 years, and how much it would actually amortize and cost you, because you're right. Ground source heat pumps is the most energy efficient or cost effective way of doing it over time, as you amortize.
And it would be great to be a leader in this region, for looking at green energy and decarbonization in general, and how, buildings are really, I think, the second largest factor in terms of greenhouse emissions.
Yeah, and we can't forget that the state kind of has a mandate. I know the date keeps changing, but by 2050, right, we're supposed to be completely off fossil fuel. So thank you. And we're actually excited. I think we've demonstrated that we can easily achieve getting off of fossil fuel with any of the solutions. So the question is, which of those solutions makes the most sense? Hi.
Yes, Phil Orenstein in Great Barrington. Can you speak to how you've determined the size of the building? And I would presume behind that is an assumption on enrollment, and then enrollment for the vocational programs versus the more traditional academic programs, and sort of how you're looking at the future there. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Mass School Building Authority, our partner, has a prescribed method of how you arrive. First, we'll just start with the enrollment. They run their calculations. They take, it's not just, what is the in-migration and out-migration of the community. They look at birth rates. They look at the fertility rate of the number of women that are in the fertility age in this area. And then they also had a long conversation with the district about school choice and other opportunities. Short answer is MSBA pretty much dictates the size of the school. So we're looking at 485 students. It's slightly actually larger than your current student population, right? Yeah. So we're actually seeing a decrease in many other communities. Their numbers are going down, and MSBA believes that with the onset of a new school, you're actually going to have increased enrollment. So that's great news for you. How we arrive at the square footage, again, MSBA has prescribed guidelines that we have to adhere to. There are some ranges, but they want to make sure that you're not overbuilding and that you're not undersizing your spaces to accommodate the program needs today and also into the future. So what you see is we have a whole bunch of categories. Over to the left, we have to stay within MSBA guidelines. If we go over, we have to acknowledge why we are over and support that. And MSBA sometimes will participate in the extra square footage or not. But you can see that your career tech or voc tech category, it's MSBA speak, is much larger than what you currently have. And not only is it larger, but the spaces will be designed to support your programs. Your automotive space actually is, the ceilings are so low, it's, I think, a third less than what it should be. So we will be designing, and we're required, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is actually going to make sure that we are designing these spaces to meet their guidelines. So not only do we have to check with MSBA, but Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is also going to make sure that we are meeting their guidelines, especially for the Chapter 74 programs. Trying to think of, did that answer your question?
Well, can you just clarify what that bottom line means, gross up times 1.5?
Great, thank you. So what you do is you take your program area along here, and what we're doing is we're actually removing the greenhouse from the actual building because it's an important program consideration, but it's not going to be within the confines of the existing building. So we take the total program without the greenhouse of, I have to round, 94,000 square feet or net floor area. MSBA, again, wanting to make sure that their money goes to the educational values within any of their buildings they build. They're telling us that we cannot exceed a grossing factor of 1.5 over the program. What does that mean? You have corridors, bathrooms, mechanical, custodial, thickness of walls. Am I missing? Those are probably the very general components that make up all of the other spaces in a building. I'm gonna go forward just so you can. Here we go. So all of the white space that you see, all of the brown space that you see, we have toilets, we have mechanical, custodial, and all the white is circulation. Those are our corridors, thickness of walls. All of that makes up the gross square footage. So you take the program, which is all the colored, and then we cannot exceed the 1.5% grossing factor is what it's called, to make sure that we have the right circulation, we meet the right codes for egress, and make sure we have enough doors and toilets, mechanical spaces. That will give you the overall gross square footage of the building. Did I do okay? Okay. Is there anyone? Do we have someone online?
Yeah, I have Son. I have 3 questions in the chat. 3 people. So Rachel, who is from Great Barrington and a French teacher and a parent, asks, she has 2 questions. The first one, is there any world in which the MSBA does not approve the final design next summer? The second question is related to the recent wildfires.
Was what?
Related to the recent wildfires. She says, the recent wildfire caused very poor air in the building for the better part of a day. We were very lucky it wasn't longer, but we were in a new reality with the climate and wildfires, which I never heard of growing here, are a growing threat. Students and staff had headaches, stomach aches, and other smoke inhalation symptoms. My son in the middle school had no problems in his newer school. This struck me as a crucial component in the conversation about this new building. I am more making this as a comment in case no one else does, because I see it as such an important aspect of this conversation.
Great. Actually, that did come up. It came up during our sustainability committee meeting too. So yeah, climate change is real, right? So we did have a long conversation about that. You will have operable windows, but when it's the air quality outside is worse, you keep the windows closed, right? We will be bringing in outdoor air, but in cases like this past week, or it's probably things still going on a little bit here, you can actually shut down the system at least temporarily. But more importantly is we're going to be putting very high filters in all of the equipment so that it should filter out a lot of the smoke and the bad air coming into the building. So it will be a huge improvement. It did come up. We can talk about, do you go to from MERV 13, we're getting technical, but there are different tiers of filters to filter through the bad air into the building. And then your other question was, will MSBA approve the project next?
She says, is there any world in which the MSBA would not approve the final design next?
Well, we submit our preferred schematic report in December, and MSBA will review it. They've already have weighed in on the educational program because we've already submitted a preliminary design program. So we don't anticipate there being any issues with that. We will be going before their board in February, where they will vote to approve the preferred solution. So we're confident that any of these solutions will meet MSBA's support. And then once we submit in June, we'll have our preferred, our schematic design submission complete in June for MSBA to vote and approve the total project. And that's when you will know your exact contribution from the MSBA in August. So I would say I don't see there being a world that MSBA would not support this project. We're doing our due diligence. It's MSBA's prescribed way of making sure that we check in with them along the way. One more.
Yep.
Does anyone? Go ahead.
Hi, Jenny Clark. I believe somebody in the chat is going to ask a question about the Simons Rock campus, so I wanted her to have that chance. But as long as we're making recommendations, I really see the 3H as the way to go. I think it is the most efficient. 2 levels is enough complexity for the day for children. And I also see it as a very gracious way of bringing the public into the space with a lobby, with a cafeteria serving as a lobby for the auditorium. And it also provides really great views towards north and south. Or is it, I don't know if I have the directions, but and further away from traffic. So 3H was the third one we saw, and it's the one that's more vertical, that goes up the hill.
I'm trying to advance the slide to a greater.
Yeah.
Why don't you just, can you go to?
Different options.
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I would go, let's go to one of the bird's eye views, if you could. Or would you prefer to see you want to see the floor plan, or is this?
No,
Okay.
this is really great. This shows the view potential for the kids, and at least, at least 2/3 of it is really nice. Some of it looks out at parking, but that's not an issue. I just think it really feels the most commodious and well-designed. So that's my view. Thank you.
Thank you. We also want to say, these are concepts, they're still concepts. And if H is selected, we will continue to refine the parking. We will continue, we do have several working groups or subcommittees. One of them was the site. And that once we have a preferred solution, we want to engage them, get their input. We have held off on that one because we weren't going to dive deep into all 3 options. But for any of you that has volunteered, thank you, and you'll be hearing from us. But
at our last meeting, you suggested that you might have, at some point, a way of specifically saying how the expandability would work on the chosen solution.
yes.
And that will be very helpful for us to imagine into the future what will happen if, oh man, we have 40 more students than we expected.
Yes, thank you. And
Thank you.
yes, we will make sure we do that as to demonstrate that with the preferred solution. Do we want to address Simon's? Yeah, thank you. We haven't gotten a chat on that yet, but
So the Simon's Rock challenge or possibility is an interesting one, and it's been chatted a lot about in social media. We're still responding to the news and trying to make sense of it, and we're very empathetic to the faculty, staff, and students who are going through this challenge. We don't see the campus as a viable solution for Monument Mountain, and it's really for two primary reasons, educational and financial. We don't think the decentralized campus is well aligned with Monument's mission, and we think it proved difficult to support. That campus is a small residential model with small classes. The distance between buildings could be a real challenge. And if you go to Simon's Rock's website, they have a little walking map where it indicates minutes between each building. And the closest buildings are 4 minutes, and I think the farthest buildings are 16 minutes. Currently, as a district, we made a big commitment to have a campus model. So our high school kids work with our middle and elementary school kids, and there's a decent amount of interaction across the buildings. And then the last one is, right now we've got 3 approved vocational programs. We may get a 4th, and we don't see those spaces existing at Simon's Rock, though some people will argue you could redo this studio into that. But we don't think it would meet state guidelines. From a financial perspective, with the exception of the Kilpatrick Athletic Center, the other buildings there are as old or as much in need of repair as Monument is. So you'd be trading an almost 60-year-old building for some cases, even older buildings, or ones with similar issues. Inheriting old buildings and potentially deferred maintenance could just be creating another set of challenges. There'd be budget implications around maintenance and renovations. We think we'd miss out on the opportunities for a net zero or sustainable space. Busing costs would increase. We would lose our funding and support from the MSBA. And then there are 2 other ones, and it's not really my place to speak to either of these, but I will a little bit. One is Simon's Rock may have an obligation to generate significant revenue through the sale of that property to fund an endowment or scholarships, and that may not be well aligned with our needs. And the other one is more from a perspective of a former resident of Great Barrington or folks who live in Great Barrington. The opportunity for that property, almost 300 acres, to generate tax revenue for the town of Great Barrington is I think one of the few remaining potential properties to do that, and that could be quite significant. So both of those aren't really mine to speak of, but elected officials and other folks can speak to that.
Jeff, do we have anyone else?
I have a series of questions from Jennifer, some of which we've partially answered. And she asked, could you provide a breakdown of the estimate? I'm assuming the cost estimate, which is available on the website. Does that include design, construction, contingencies? And what is the cost per square foot? What are the major cost drivers? I think all of that information should be available on monument.
Yeah,
View
yeah.
project.
So the design, there is a series of contingencies. In the cost estimate, there are, within the construction cost itself, I'm picking, because I landed on this, 3E. So you'll see the total construction cost is the first line item. I mentioned that includes your demolition, your abatement of your existing school, all of the site work that we've been showing and is part of the project. It also includes design contingencies because we are just starting to design the building. And it also includes escalation. In addition to that, then we have construction contingencies and owner contingencies. So once we get into construction, and if there was an error or omission in the drawings or documents, we have money reserved to, or if there were unforeseen conditions, soil conditions is usually the big unforeseen, that we have money to actually address those issues. So I think all of that is clearly stated in the cost estimates. And I don't, looking to John Benziger, we haven't provided a full breakdown of all of the soft costs just yet, correct? We will be doing that when we submit to MSBA. We haven't shared that, but we will. Yeah, yeah. So we will share all of that detail, even to the extent we'll tell you how much we've allocated for your new furniture, fixtures, and equipment, technology, et cetera. What else did I miss? We talked about the cost estimates.
She asked what were the cost per square foot, which are.
Oh, the
also
cost per
listed.
square foot is also, it's so late, don't ask me to do this math in my head. The cost per square foot is also on the cost estimates as well. I want to say that the numbers have come down. We shared really preliminary numbers in the spring, and we're pleased to say that I think they've actually dropped quite a bit, and MSBA's grant or contribution has also gone up because we get additional money if we go with a green school, which we're proposing utilizing with a VRF or a ground source, I'll say air source or a ground source heat pump. So the taxpayers or the local share has significantly dropped from where we were, I think by at least $20 million or something from where we were in the spring. Were those it? Hi.
Hi, Ann Hutchinson from Great Barrington. So you have two different models for building a new school, and I wondered what are, aside from the orientation on the hill, and one's 3 and one's 2, why do you have those two options? Why? I mean, is it all about how long it's going to take to construct it and how disruptive it is, or are there real reasons for having those two models?
Thank you. Actually, I think when we started at the very beginning, I'm stuck. Rita, you got it? Thanks. When we actually started in February of this year, we actually, I think, we had 7 or 8 different options for new construction around the site, wanting to explore what made the most sense. We narrowed it down from, I think it went through H, so. What was it?
A through
G, okay. But the reason why we landed on these is actually in the Reno, I think we also had, oh my goodness, 5, 6 different options as well for the addition renovation, but the staff really weighed in and said this was their preferred. But for the 2 new options, construction time is the same. We're anticipating 24 months to build the building and about 6 months to tear down the existing building and finish the site. Whereby I think we stated it, but for the addition renovation, you know, you're looking at minimum 48 months of construction disruption, and then we'll have to follow up with site. So construction duration doesn't really change. There are just slight nuances. It's preference at this point. We are meeting the educational program with either the E or H. One's a 3-story, more compact. There are benefits there. One's a 2-story. It's a larger footprint. Some people may say that's even better for putting solar on the roof. We reached out to the staff at Monument Mountain, and it's interesting that it's almost split with them as well. So asking you all, what were your, priorities as we asked you to help rank it? It's really going to almost come down to kind of personal subjective. What do we like? What don't we like? How does it respond to things? They both respond to safety the same way. We're both saying we can close off parts of the building to open it up for community use. But they're so different that we didn't want to make that decision early on to say pick one. And we were hoping, I think Jason mentioned, that we were thinking that one option was going to come in far more expensive than the other option, right? We're building into the hill with the 3-story option. We're like, oh, this is, gonna cost a lot of money, and actually comes out to be slightly less, a couple $1 million, slightly less than the H option, right? So there's some short-term impacts to H. We need temporary parking, but that's a 2-year disruption over a 75-year investment. So I think ultimately it's not going to be an easy decision. Does that answer your question? Yeah. And someone else weighed in and offered what their preference was. If you feel you want to help these guys, maybe weigh in. Feel free if you have a preference. Feel free and explain why. I appreciate the other. I almost said caller. The other person's opinions. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Richard from Great Barrington asks, how will the general vote be conducted next fall? In-person town meeting, ballot, etc.
It's something we're still working on, and we'll discuss it at a future school committee meeting.
Rich Bradway from Stockbridge, and this is sort of adding on to the question that Ann just asked. I'm in favor of a school building, but I am sort of conscious of the fact that there's still a disruption. There's a disruption to the students, teachers. My guesstimate is that, on alternate 2C, we're impacting 400 to 500 students, 48 months, possibly longer. Some of those students will experience a disruption for the entire 4 years that they're in school. Whereas some of the other alternatives are less duration, and so presumably less impact. But I guess I'm just, I'm thinking about my son started Monument when the pandemic hit, and it took him 2 years to recover to be in a position where he could thrive in school. And I'm just concerned about the impact that this has. I'm also concerned about the impact this may have with respect to other school districts that tuition into us or choice into us, to the extent that some people will argue that this is a cost, but it's actually also a revenue. I'm curious with the other school district projects in the county, when they were undergoing their construction and there was impact to the school operation, did those school districts see any decrease in or alterations in their tuition agreements or the school choice that might have impacted their revenues for the operating budget? Are there also any considerations? I would suspect that alternate 2C, being the most disruptive, might also impact potentially reducing academic offerings or programmatic offerings during that time because of the construction. So I'm just curious if any of those things, what some of those things might be.
Yeah, Rich, it's a really good question. Wacona and Taconic were both new builds, and school went on in the existing buildings. So I think there was little to no impact except the noise of the construction close by, right? And then when the project was done, the demolition of the previous buildings. Greylock was a little more complicated because it was a renovation and addition. In all the places, people were overwhelmingly supportive and excited about either the new and renovated spaces they got. So I think they had short memories. The challenge of moving a whole somebody's whole high school life through a construction zone is daunting to me. And 48 months is probably the best scenario, and it could take longer. So I have some reservations about that for that reason. I'll check in with the folks at Greylock to see if there was any significant impact. I think the kids or young people that tuition to us and that choice to us are literally voting with their feet. So I think they're committed to what we offer them. So it's my belief that they'll continue to come. But I will check in with Greylock on that.
And if I could just add, I think one of the questions was, are programs going to be disrupted or reduced during construction? We don't believe so. We actually spent a lot of time really figuring out at this phase how we could actually do the work without disrupting really important programs. A classroom is a classroom is a classroom, so you can teach whether it's social studies or English or Spanish in a general classroom. However, what you can't do is your career tech programs. Those have to be designed or have to be constructed in advance of moving them, because those programs have to occur in a particular space. Same thing said for your sciences, right? Critically important. So we actually have spent so much time to make sure that this solution could actually work. You'll see we would build new. The other component, I think, as Jeff mentioned, we want to build the administration. We don't want disruption to the administration. We also don't want disruption to the cafeteria. You have an obligation to feed these students, right? So we spent a lot of time, and all the new science labs would go here. And then you'll see that we had a very thoughtful clockwise. So once the cafeteria is empty, we then can gut it and do work in here and then move classrooms. And once this is in, then we can move classrooms. So we don't think programs would suffer. The students would suffer, the staff would suffer, right? Or staff probably more than anyone. Look at how many times they've got to move. At least we know they'll thin out their 50 years worth of books and everything. But we don't think the programs would suffer, but there's a massive disruption. While we have not had the pleasure of working in this county, we've done work in nearby communities, but we typically build a new school on an existing school site. We're confident that we can provide safe and separate access for contractor and for the staff and the students within the existing school. In fact, we're really excited working with the high school with career tech components to it to actually engage students with the construction and get them excited about the futures that they hold. So we don't think either new school options would actually be detrimental to the staff or students. In fact, a lot of times it's the absolute opposite.
I have two questions from Jennifer. The first one is from her daughter. She says, my daughter wants to know if there will be lockers for students big enough to fit a coat.
Big enough to fit
Fit a coat.
their coats. Yeah. These lockers, and every other school of this era, you can't fit their coat, their boots, their backpacks. They can't fit anything. Their lunchbox, like, can't fit anything in these. So yeah, actually, once we start, after we have a preferred solution, we're really going to explore how best to lay out the lockers, recognizing the importance, where they're, first of all, where are they located? And the layouts of these two options make the footprint very compact and efficient. At your existing Monument Mountain, if your locker is at one end of the building, you might never go back there throughout the course of your day, right? So we want to talk about where best to put the lockers and what the best sizes are to accommodate the students, and we look forward to engaging the students in that.
The second question is, are there ways in this high school design to improve the life cycle costs of the entire campus, including the elementary school and middle school? All or not on town sewer, for example. Are there any efficiencies in sharing heating systems or other utilities?
I'm thinking. Go ahead, Jeff.
I would say that right now the high school is actually the last piece of the puzzle with regards to the buildings being connected to the wastewater treatment facility down on Monument Valley Road. That building was originally designed to handle a larger Monument Mountain, along with the two other schools. The water storage facility out by the agriculture horticulture buildings, when they designed it back in 2002, 2003, they sized it with the understanding that in the future a sprinkler system would be installed at Monument. So I think the answer to that is the designers in the past have already taken that into account.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I had a question, Lee Davis, Great Barrington, about the possibility of public-private partnerships, and I brought this up at the select board meeting, and I realized that you mentioned that these costs include the full fit-out of rooms, such as the STEMS facilities or the auditorium or the gym. And, is there thought of going to our workforce and to some of our industries and providing an opportunity if they were to invest in, let's say, the auditorium, talk to a cultural or talk to a foundation, the STEM facilities, automotive, to have a business or a foundation invest in that, such as like a naming opportunity, so that we get some of the money back in response, to kind of reaching out into the community for some opportunities to help with the funding of
And
fit-outs.
participate, right? Make it a true
Exactly.
community.
Yeah.
So our partner, Mass School Building Authority, if we receive any third-party funding, whether it be from an endowment, whether it be from a generous employer, whatever, they want to also participate in that, right? So if you get $1 million grant, they're going to take $1 million off what they would participate in because you're not now paying for it. But we could look at it differently, right? We can think creative ways, whether it's equipment that from at the automotive shop, right? We know that has some incredible equipment required for that program. Maybe we don't have to purchase it all. MSBA isn't telling us we have to purchase it all, but maybe there's opportunities in that regard that we could do something for the performing arts. We could get creative. I'd have to think about what we could not do that you could come back later and do as a separate project. But large components, probably, we won't be able to do that without MSBA also taking that off the,
So if you just did just like the basic, like the vanilla shell and nothing built in, and then, received the money, then later on worked with someone in the, privately to say, okay, this is the basics, but if you complete the, construction of the rest of it, that would.
yeah,
be-
no,
okay.
definitely. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
the spaces absolutely have to be completely
Yeah,
built
yeah.
out. And to take it a step further, can you imagine, you build this beautiful auditorium, you have a grant or someone who's willing to give you your seats, you don't put the seats in, and then all of a sudden that falls through, and MSB is going to be like, that's what, right? But I think there are probably opportunities where we can probably get creative in ways that the community can contribute in meaningful ways. I think John Benzinger's, yeah.
Did dip into that, $3.5 million to fund their new track and playing field. They also been improving the parking lot and some other things with that money. That was kind of outside the main scope of the project.
Okay.
And MSBA did go after it.
Right. So if it's outside of the building as opposed to physically in the building, it makes a difference.
Thank you.
Yeah. For the record, we are not touching your track and field as part of this project. Mount Greylock had no, they didn't have one. Yeah, yeah.
I just had one more question or observation. So this particular initiative has Skanska working with you, whereas the last time we went through this process 10 or so years ago, we didn't have that kind of partner on this design and planning. And I would suspect that this is to our advantage now because it removes a lot more ambiguity within the cost, within the scope and costs. But I'm just curious if it's an accurate observation.
Yeah, so Skanska, obviously, a household name, especially around here. Skanska has several components to the overall. They do construction as well as owner's project managers. So Skanska is the owner's project manager on this project. Colliers was the owner's project manager on the first project. Jones Whitsitt was the designer on the first project, and Danisco Design, I'm Donna, I apologize. Will you introduce me? Yeah. And our team and William Ron were the designers. So you had the same structure. It's actually a law here in Massachusetts that you have an OPM on any project over $1.5 million, which it's painting the parking lot at this point. But so I think maybe perhaps that was a little bit of the confusion, is that Skanska also has a construction arm. Are there any questions?
Steve asks, is there a reason we're talking about having a building for 75 years when the existing building isn't that old and is so clearly past its prime?
We are talking about a building that's, 50, 75 or longer. There will be, throughout the life of your new building, times when you're going to also have to invest in your building. You are going to have to replace the roof. You are going to have to address your mechanical systems. You're going to have to replace the furniture. There are absolutely things within your new building that you will have to address throughout the life of the building. No different than what we're saying here. However, codes have changed significantly since where we were in the 60s, and this construction probably started at late 50s, early 60s, the design of it, right? I'm just trying to get to the list of stuff. But no different when you think about your home, right? or your car. Sometimes I can relate better to a car than my house, but you are going to have to replace aspects of any building, whether it's in 20 years, 30, 40, 50, or beyond. And a capital improvement plan is really important when you start thinking about maintaining the investment that you're all about to make. I hope that answers it. And what we didn't know then, we know now, right? And I'm sure in 75 years, people are going to say, wow, what were you thinking? We didn't need that parking lot. We have flying cars, but I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I would just add that building technology has improved exponentially over time. So what wouldn't allow us to go 75 to 100 years back then, now we know and have the technology to be able to do that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Anyone else out there? All right. I have a question from Paul and a question from Vivian. Paul says, provided there's a positive vote, when would a new building open? He has a second question that says, what happens if bids exceed the authorized bonding capacity?
Let's go with the optimistic.
Yeah.
Well, no, let's go the other way. Well, first of all, before we even get to bid day, again, MSBA's prescriptive process, but it's actually really best practices. Once we submit a cost estimate with the schematic design, MSBA approves it, towns approve it. We have 3 more cost estimates over the course of, I think we're saying it's 14, 15 months of design. We'll do one at design development, at the end of design development as a checkpoint. We'll have a list of items that we want to consider. Is this worth it? Do we remove them from the project? One at 60% construction documents and one at 90% construction documents. So probably a month and a half before we go to bid, we will do another test to make sure that we have been managing the budget, anticipating the costs, and checking or confirming that the market's still what the market is. So we would never go to bid if our cost estimates, 2 of them, independent cost estimates, were indicating that the market has shifted so much that we have a problem. So I'm going to leave it at that. Or what the town approved, right? Yeah. I think people might have heard that. So what John was saying was that if for whatever reason the bids came in over what the budget allows for, then we would reject all the bids, and that we would have to make adjustments to the drawings to make sure that we've adequately responded to the cost inflation that came through with the bids. But again, it's a long and arduous process, but it's a smart way to go about this. We will have a total of 5, 6 cost estimates throughout the duration of the design process. As for when the new building is going to open, if we go with the new construction, we're anticipating starting construction in 2027 and completing in 2029. And then after that would be with the demolition and then the final site. But it might be in the winter. The final would maybe be in the winter. Plantings might linger till the spring of 2030, but the project will be essentially complete in 2029.
And then Vivian asks, why was the size of the kitchen reduced? That could be a valuable source to support our local economy by providing commercial kitchen access to local farmers and gardeners when the school isn't in use.
Vivian, we would love a larger kitchen. Our partner, Mass School Building Authority, limits the size of the kitchen. And if we want to exceed it, we can, we just have to pay 100% of it on our own. So we really try to stay within MSBA guidelines so that we could maximize their reimbursement or participation and minimize the cost to the taxpayers. Is that it?
The last one I'm seeing.
And how are we doing on time? 8. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Make sure everyone is all set. Any questions? You're having a hard time navigating the website, whatever. Dr. Dillon has graciously said to reach out. We're excited to share the results here. We'll make sure that this is posted for everyone to have a copy of. Monumentbuildingproject.org will have all of this information. And again, we try to put the most current and useful information on the top, but if you're having problems, feel free to reach out. If you have any preferences, reach out to your building committee members or join us on the 4th for the deliberations. But thank you, everyone, for coming out, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.